As you probably well know, in 2019, anything and everything is racist. Milk is racist. The OK sign is racist. And the Lion King is racist. Get this, because the hyenas, because they all have Hispanic accents, they're saying this means that the creators of Lion King thinks all Hispanics are evil. And of course, President Trump himself is a racist. Well, we've got Joel Patrick here to talk about how this racist president invited him and a bunch of other black men and women to the White House to have dinner with the president at a reception for National Black History Month. But first, we spend so much time talking about how everything is racist, when in reality, most of those things aren't actually racist. Criticizing little Colin Kaepernick for kneeling on the flag isn't actually racist. It's an acknowledgement of the universal truth that the guy just sucks. That statue that reminds liberals of a monkey isn't actually racist. And by the way, if you see a statue of a monkey and you think, hey, you know, that monkey reminds me of a black person, guess who's the racist? It's you. Now, it turns out there are a lot of things that prove that liberals might be the racist ones. And we're going to go through 9 things that liberals think are terrific that turn out actually could be pretty incredibly racist. Don't believe me? Just swap out the word black for the word white and then tell me it's not racist. All right, and welcome to the White House Brief. I am your host, John Miller, humble, lovable, and of course, always right. Now remember, we've got a podcast of the show now. You can search for it in iTunes. Please subscribe, rate, and review it. That will help it stand out among all the other garbage in that store and help it stand out so that it charts better. Now, it's one thing for liberals to want diversity. It's another thing to create special privileges for blacks in the name of diversity. I mean, call me crazy, but isn't that racist? Like I said, switch the word from white to black, and you'll see. And here are 9 examples. Numero uno, Black People Meet. Have you guys seen this? It's Black People Meet. It is a dating app. Meet other black singles in your area, it says. And people are like, what? This is just for black people to meet others like them. I don't see what's so wrong about that. Well, can you imagine if they created a website called White People Meet? White people meet, come here to meet other white singles in your area. Don't let those pesky black people clog up your feed while trying to breed. Filter them out with whitepeoplemeet.com. Whitepeoplemeet.com. Join today. My guess is Al Sharpton would get his pompadour specially pressed just to go protest that website. Now, if you want to meet people who look like you, come from a similar background, that is totally fine. But what is racist is to say that it's okay for black people to do one thing, but it's not okay for whites to do it as well. That is a complete double standard, and that is what is racist. All right, moving on to this one. What about this? Number 2, Cal State LA. When Cal State LA, a university in California, created segregated housing for black people, oh, weird, all of a sudden, separate but equal is okay. It's okay when black people want to do it in the other direction. Not making this up. Quote, a California university is the latest public school of higher education to establish African-American priority housing in response to demands from black students seeking refuge from what they consider insensitive remarks and microaggressions. Oh, a microaggression from their white classmates. You guys want to know what a microaggression is? A microaggression is black people who don't like to be asked, where are you from? Not making this up, you can see this right here on the screen. They don't like to be asked, where are you from? Where were you born? They're like, don't tell me those are normal conversation starters in college. Black people were offended when some people were asking them, where are you from? So apparently they need their own separate housing for that. Can't make it up. Number 3, you know that the left would never put up with historically white colleges. If we had those, there would be outrage. But we have historically black colleges. Are those racist? Well, no, they're not racist, they argue, because they were established before the civil rights during segregation when black people couldn't get into institutions of higher learning. Yeah, well, what happened? Oh yeah, the Civil Rights Act happened, which was supposed to make it so that this kind of discrimination didn't happen anymore. Well, they don't discriminate against whites, they just admit less of them. Yeah, sounds like discrimination to me. And by the way, try being a white person attending a historically black college and see how welcome you feel by the black people there. I mean, talk about you can't sit with us. If whites treated blacks like that at other universities, you know it would be a national scandal. And speaking of colleges, that brings us to number 4, affirmative action. Yeah, they say we're going to lower our standards for white people because they're not as capable. Can you imagine that? I mean, on this one, you don't even need to switch the words around on that one. I mean, this one is just racist on its face. They are literally saying, oh, you black people are so incompetent. What we're going to do is we're going to actually lower our standards for you just to let you in easier because we know you black people can't perform academically as well as whites. I mean, if it's for the disenfranchised, go to Appalachia and tell me there aren't white communities hurting just as bad as black inner city ghettos. In Appalachia, why don't they get a leg up? Because affirmative action is not based on disenfranchisement, it is based on skin color, which essentially means that you're saying to blacks that their inability to perform academically or otherwise, you're saying that inability is biological. Interesting. Moving on to number 5, black superheroes. And yes, I am looking at you, Black Panther. Never mind the fact that White Panther would be considered so racist. White Panther from a country of all whites. Hey, I guess maybe that's what MAGA country is, right next to Wakanda. I mean, that would never fly in Hollywood. And interesting how the high and mighty royalty from Wakanda isn't actually interested in the race issues, the actual race issues plaguing a place like Oakland. No, T'Challa doesn't even acknowledge them as his people. Now, did I enjoy Black Panther? Absolutely. But it is a racist movie that just parades around like a black film in order to rake in millions. Number 6, all of the black movements, black power. I mean, can you imagine white power? White power? Black Lives Matter? Can you imagine white lives matter? I really don't think that would fly. Of course, Black Lives Matter is based off of the myth that black people are targeted and slain by the cops in alarming numbers. It's a real nice story to push your racist movement. All lives matter. I will say it over and over again. Don't care how much it offends people when I say that. All lives matter. Number 7, black people, for whatever reason, are allowed to have their own magazines. I mean, you guys know Essence magazine, and then there's Black Journal. I mean, speaking of Black Lives Matter, can you imagine how many cities Black Lives Matter would raise to the ground if they ever found out about something called, I don't know, White Journal? I mean, they'd say this is totally racist. Can you believe they have White Journal, White Essence, talking about 19 bold white thinkers and unsung heroes and instructing people to buy white, how to buy from white business owners? Now, these aren't actual magazines, and we're not condoning this, but these are actual things taken from black magazines that we just replaced the word white with to show how, in reality, it would be construed as racist if anyone ever made these magazines. But black magazines are allowed. All right, number 8. What about statements like white men can't jump, white people can't dance? Think about it. What if you made a movie called Black Men Can't Spell or Asian Women Can't Drive? You think there would be outrage there? And last but not least, Black History Month. Now, I have a piece written about this, little controversial, got a little bit of controversy, but think about it this way. If whites tried to get their own History Month, something tells me the black community would have a bit of a problem with that. So if you want to talk about racism, what about all these things that you know would be met with outrage? There would be universal scorn if any of these things were actually a thing. And if it were the other way around, if you switched the word black for white, there would be outrage. Now, I get it. I understand the argument that black people should enjoy special privileges because they've suffered from 230 years plus of indecency and injustice in this country, and they need reparations. Hey, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, they're talking about reparations for blacks. My question is, when are we going to get over it? When? Ever? I mean, we've had a black president, worst president ever, by the way, at least in modern history. I mean, he's up there with Woodrow Wilson and FDR in terms of a dictatorial pox on democracy. But nevertheless, we had a black president. I mean, that's huge. Look at the Forbes list. Black people everywhere. In every profession, you have blacks thriving and succeeding.